Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise around tech, bringing you the insights that really matter, connecting the dots on those complex, interconnected stories. Our mission today really is to give you a shortcut, help you understand what's actually driving things in tech, from the big picture down to the surprising details. So today we're going on quite a journey. We'll unpack the hardware powering this AI supercycle everyone's talking about. We'll look at the tech job market, some weird signals there, and even, how global politics plays into the apps and platforms we use daily. We're going to try and link it all up for you.
Exactly. The goal is to take these stories that might seem separate and weave them together, show you the bigger picture, the real drivers behind innovation, and, well, change. Hopefully you'll leave this deep dive seeing how these pieces fit with a better handle on what's actually going on under the hood.
Okay, let's dive in then. The absolute core of so much right now seems to be this almost unbelievable demand for AI infrastructure. It really starts with the hardware, right? And who gets the best stuff first. And interestingly, a company called CoreWeave, maybe not the biggest name, has pulled off something pretty significant here.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
They are apparently the first company to get NVIDIA's very latest GB300 AI servers, the ones with the new Blackwell Ultra chip, and Dell is the one delivering them.
Wow, first in line, ahead of the giants.
Seems so. And NVIDIA, they're on this relentless, one-year release cycle, pushing things forward constantly. The Blackwell Ultra isn't just a small step either. It's supposedly a 50% performance boost for token processing, which is, critical for AI.
50%, that's huge.
It really is. So
Yeah.
Think about CoreWeave getting that power first. They've apparently got this massive $26 billion backlog in cloud demand.
26 billion, okay.
Yeah. So getting these top-tier chips early, it lets them start tackling that backlog way faster, converting it into actual revenue. It gives them a serious leg up.
A real competitive advantage then, even against the hyperscalers.
Definitely. And what's also interesting is how NVIDIA seems to be positioning these chips.
How so?
Well, the brand new ones, like Blackwell Ultra, they're mostly for the really intensive AI training, teaching the models.
Right, the heavy lifting.
Exactly. And then the slightly older series chips, they get used more for inferencing, so running the trained models in the real world.
Ah, okay. Makes sense. Tiering the hardware for different tasks.
Yeah. And we shouldn't forget Dell and all this. They're the ones actually building and shipping these complex servers, a pretty crucial link in the chain.
Absolutely. Logistics are key when the demand is this high. And, this CoreWeave example, it really just highlights the bigger picture, doesn't it? This massive infrastructure supercycle that's happening everywhere in tech.
It feels like it. The demand just seems endless.
It's genuinely insatiable, like almost a feeding frenzy for computing power. And maybe the best example, the most mind-blowing one, is this OpenAI and Oracle Stargate project.
Stargate, right. Heard about that. Sounds big.
Big doesn't even cover it. It might be the largest cloud deal ever. We're talking a $30 billion contract.
30 billion. Wow.
And get this, 4.5 gigawatts of power capacity needed.
4.5 gigawatts. What does that even mean in real terms?
Well, think about it like this. That's roughly the power output of 4.5 nuclear reactors.
Seriously?
Yeah. Or enough electricity for maybe 3.5 million homes. Just for this one project. The scale is staggering.
That's hard to comprehend. What does that mean for Oracle?
Oh, it's transformative. Could potentially triple their current cloud revenue.
Yeah.
Taking them from, say, $10 billion a year up to $30 billion starting around fiscal 2028.
So it puts them right back in the major leagues for cloud infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just Oracle winning. The chip makers are benefiting hugely. NVIDIA, obviously.
Sure.
But also AMD. They apparently locked in about $3-4 billion in revenue from this Stargate deal alone.
Okay, so AMD's getting a serious piece of the action, too.
Yeah, they're supplying something like 130,000 of their MI355 chips, which also shows, that the market is looking for options, not just NVIDIA. Diversification.
Right. Different chips for different needs, maybe? Or just spreading the supply risk?
Probably a bit of both. Cost, performance optimization.
Yeah.
It makes the AI chip space even more competitive.
And all this compute power.
Yeah.
It needs energy. A lot of energy.
Exactly. That's the often overlooked part. Energy and compute demand are now completely linked, joined at the hip.
So hyperscalers are getting into the energy business now.
We're seeing them invest directly, even looking at things like nuclear power to guarantee supply down the line.
Wow. And you mentioned the U.S. having an edge here.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking, the U.S. has more energy self-sufficiency and somewhat cheaper energy production compared to Europe or the UK. That could be a real long-term advantage in this AI race.
Okay, so the scale of the physical build-out is immense, unprecedented energy needs. But who's funding the next big AI idea? Let's talk about the investment side, maybe shift down to the seed level.
Good idea.
We're seeing firms like Encore mentioned. They're writing those crucial first institutional checks, looking for founders who really truly believe they've found a whole new customer segment.
Betting on conviction, basically.
Yeah. And what seems clear from the sources is that almost every company that's going to define the next decade, AI is baked in. It's the undercurrent.
It's not just a feature anymore.
Right. It's fundamental. And this is actually changing what a seed round even looks like.
How so?
Well, the average seed round in Q1 apparently went over $3 million, up from maybe $2.5 million before.
Okay, a noticeable jump.
It's not just inflation. It seems to reflect higher expectations from the next stage, from Series A investors. They want to see more proof now, earlier on. More maturity, more validation, and definitely some AI capability.
Right, the bar is higher at the seed stage than it used to be. And it's fascinating how AI itself is evolving in startups. It's moving really fast from being like a specific sector you invest in to just being part of every startup. It's becoming pervasive. It really is everywhere.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. You've got what you might call AI native companies. Think of Evo using AI for legal contract review, or GPT-0 for sophisticated copy editing.
Built around AI from the ground up.
Exactly. But then you also have companies selling to AI companies, like Tailscale. It seems to be becoming the go-to networking solution for big AI players like Mistral and Perplexity.
Interesting. So it's infrastructure for the AI builders.
Right. So companies are either building AI into their product, using AI in their back office to get more efficient, or selling tools to the AI companies. It's just woven into the fabric now.
Okay.
And that brings up another interesting role in VC, the operator.
What does that mean exactly?
Well, you often have brilliant technical founders, right? Masters of the tech.
Yeah.
But maybe not so experienced with product marketing or sales.
Sure. Common challenge.
So the operator comes in to help bridge that gap, help them really nail down their ideal customer profile, figure out how to reach them, and land those critical first customers.
Providing that go-to-market expertise.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it points to where founders are really finding it tough today. It's maybe not always the capital itself that's become a bit more available, almost commoditized in some ways, especially for AI.
Right. So what is the struggle?
Getting super specific about who their customer is. Because at the seed stage, you win by owning a niche workflow completely end-to-end, not by trying to be everything to everyone.
Well, just is key.
Extremely key. And the other big struggle, of course, is finding the right people. The talent piece is always tough in a hot market.
Okay, that's a perfect segue. Talent. Let's look at the wider tech job market, because the latest data seems, well, confusing.
Mixed signals.
Yeah. The headline number looked good. 147,000 jobs added overall. Unemployment down a bit to 4.1%. Looks healthy, right?
On the surface, yeah.
But dig deeper, and the sources say private sector jobs, particularly in tech and innovation, are flat.
Flat, despite the AI boom.
Seems so. There are even specific tech job losses, like 5,000 in computer manufacturing, 1,000 in semiconductor manufacturing, losses in web search portals, hosting.
That's counterintuitive.
It really is. But then at the same time, the market for the absolute top-end software engineers, SaaS experts, especially AI specialists, it's described as very tight.
So bifurcation. Weakness in some areas, intense competition at the very top.
Exactly. We're talking serious poaching. Companies overpaying like crazy for star executives, especially those with deep AI experience.
How much overpaying are we talking?
Get this. Sources mention potential pay packages hitting $100 million USD.
900
million.
for an executive.
For the absolute elite AI talent, apparently. It's kind of wild.
That's staggering. A completely different world.
It really is. And to navigate this, you've got recruiting firms like Bespoke Partners actually using AI and machine learning themselves.
Using AI to find AI talent.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Indexing executives, analyzing job fit, even predicting who might be ready to make a move. It's like a high-stakes recruitment game.
That's an incredible dynamic. The demand for that specific AI talent is just warping the market, creating this bubble of extreme compensation, while other parts of tech are just flat or declining.
Yeah.
It really shows where the strategic bets are being placed, doesn't it? Pouring money into the human capital they think will win the AI race. Makes you wonder about sustainability. But for now, the bidding war is fierce.
Absolutely. Okay, so the AI race, reshapes industries, jobs. But
Mm.
technology doesn't exist in a vacuum, does it? Global politics always plays a role.
Always.
Let's look at US-China tech relations. Something quite surprising just happened with EDA software.
EDA, electronic design automation. The stuff you need to design chips.
Exactly. Absolutely critical software. Can't make modern chips without it.
Right. Very specialized.
So the US put export restrictions on selling this software to China back in May. Made sense from a competition standpoint, right?
Sure. Limiting access to key tools.
But those restrictions were apparently just rolled back,
Yeah.
like last night.
Rolled back. Seriously.
Yeah. So the big EDA players, Siemens, Cadence, Synopsys, they can now go back to doing full business with China.
Wow. That's unexpected. Why?
Well, what's really interesting and maybe a bit concerning is that these export controls, normally considered strict national security measures, seem to have been traded as part of the trade negotiations.
Traded. Like a bargaining chip.
Kind of looks like it. Remember, China recently halted some rare earth mineral exports? This feels like a tit-for-tat move, using tech access as leverage in broader trade talks.
So national security controls are becoming negotiable trade items. That feels like a shift.
It does. It makes you wonder what else might be on the table.
And the big question, strategically, is what does this mean for the U.S.-China tech race? The obvious concern is Huawei. They're China's tech champion. Does this freer access to top-tier EDA software let them close the gap faster? Design their own cutting-edge chips again.
Despite previous efforts to slow them down.
Exactly. Now, the U.S. still has a big lead in EDA itself, and in the manufacturing equipment, like ASML in the Netherlands is crucial there.
Yeah.
But this decision, it definitely helps them make some of those steps forward. It could accelerate things in a way the U.S. probably didn't want. It's a very interesting wrinkle.
A potentially impactful one. Okay, moving from chip design wars to how politics touches our everyday digital lives, social media, free speech. Here's a stat that jumped out. 1 in 5 Americans gets their news today from influencers.
1 in 5. Wow. That's significant power.
Huge power, especially politically. They're shaping opinions on a massive scale, whether we realize it or not.
Definitely.
But here's a really concerning twist. Sources say immigration lawyers are now actually advising influencers, including U.S. citizens, not to post about controversial, hot-button political issues.
Advising them not to post.
Yeah.
Why?
Because of fears, apparently genuine fears of potential repercussions. Things like being detained at the border, questioned for hours, maybe even blocked from re-entering the U.S.
Even for citizens. That sounds extreme.
There's even a specific example given. Hassan Piker, he's a well-known far-left Twitch streamer. He was apparently detained and questioned at Chicago O'Hare after being very vocal about Palestine.
Okay.
And he believes it was done specifically to make people like him afraid of showing their opinions online. It suggests online speech might have real-world consequences now, in a way we didn't anticipate.
That is deeply concerning, a potential chilling effect on speech. And what makes this even more complex, according to a recent Pew poll, is that political influencers online today actually tend to skew more conservative than left-leaning.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, so if you combine that existing skew with this fear of repercussions, potentially silencing other viewpoints, you have to ask, could that political gap among online influencers actually widen over time due to self-censorship?
A feedback loop of sorts.
Potentially. And look, while government officials will always say they follow the law, due process, etc., these situations really do highlight this very complex and sometimes tense relationship between what individuals say online, government actions, and this digital public square where so much debate happens now.
Yeah. Who sets the boundaries and what are the real costs of crossing them?
Exactly. It forces you to think about the unwritten rules.
So let's try and pull these threads together. We've gone from the silicon powering AI
The infrastructure supercycle.
to the money flowing into startups, the crazy hunt for AI talent,
Yeah, the $100 million execs.
all the way to global trade negotiations using chip software as a bargaining chip, and even fears about posting political views online, possibly leading to trouble at the border.
It really shows how interconnected everything is, doesn't it? Hardware, software, money, talent, politics. It's all tangled together.
It really is. It's this complex web shaping our digital future, what gets built, who profits, and even what we feel safe saying.
So as we wrap up, here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. We see AI infrastructure scaling like mad, demanding huge amounts of energy. At the same time, digital influence is growing, becoming a primary news source. But the space for free expression online seems potentially fraught, maybe even shrinking in some ways. How do you think these two massive trends, the insatiable demand for energy to power AI and this evolving complex landscape for online speech, how will they continue to shape not just tech, but our society itself? What stands out most to you from all this, and what questions pop into your head about where we're headed?